really compare simple interest and compound interest and then find compound interest. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. This is just an ad. As soon as I can skip it, I will. All right, so here is compound interest.
Compound interest is the interest an investor earns on his original investment, plus all the interest earned on the interest that has accumulated over time. It is easier to think of compound interest as interest on interest. To understand compound interest, let's first look at simple interest, the interest earned on the original principal only. Suppose you deposit $10,000 into a high-interest savings account at a 5% simple interest rate for 3 years. The interest you earn each year is 5% times $10,000 equals $500, for a total of $1,500 of interest at the end of year 3. $500 plus 500 plus 500. Now instead, suppose that you deposit the same $10,000 at 5% interest compounded annually. In year 1, the interest you earn is the same, $500. But in year 2, the interest you earn is 5% times $10,500, the original amount plus the interest you earned in year 1. So the second year's interest is $525. In year 3, you earn 5% interest on $11,025, $10,000 plus 500, year 1 interest, plus 525, year 2 interest, or an interest payment of $551.25. In total, you earn $1,576.25 in interest over 3 years with compounding interest versus $1,500 with simple interest, a difference of $76.25. The effect of compounding becomes especially powerful over longer time periods as the amount of earned interest becomes larger and larger.
Thank you. All right, so that was about compound interest. I just plugged it into like here, right?
This thing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It must have not, like, with the split screens, it must not calibrate.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why.
Ever?
I don't know. I just tried calibrating it twice, but manually and I couldn't
What's
get
it doing? Like depends every year.
Yeah.
Or just tell her. Somebody else is like that. And he got it to work somehow.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like something to do with like where it's.
Because I don't know if I should be using this screen instead of this screen. Like, because this is presenting. I did. I tried switching everything last period. My poor kids. I was like, barely could teach because I had no idea what to do.
Yeah,
and then I tried using my mouse to write on everything, but it looked like crap.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so hard to do that.
So I was like, sorry guys, that was a horrible lesson.
Yeah, you just have to either open up Cami or Screencastify.
I have Screencastify open.
Okay, perfect. Alright.
And then you don't use this at all the rest of the day?
No, just Kelly has one and Karen has one.
Okay.
I only use it in this room and I'm not using it at home.
Oh, maybe so I can just use it while I'm here.
Yeah. I can just leave it in here with that.
Okay.
Just take it overnight in case we're home.
Yeah. All right, well, maybe I'll use it until he can figure this out. All right, guys, look, you guys are lucky because I'm going to try to figure out how to use this pen thing. All right, so why do you earn more money using compound interest than simple interest? So, simple interest, right, that's what we did last week. You're pretty much just earning interest off of your principal, right? Compound interest, now you're earning interest off the interest accumulated. So hopefully you saw from that video, like in year 1, instead of just earning, if it was $10,000, right, that's the example that they did, they earned $500 each year for simple interest. So they earned $1,500. Okay, with compound interest now, so the first year they earn the same. They earn $500. The next year they earn interest off of this. Okay, so I forget what it was, but it was like $10,525. And then the next year they earn interest off this $25. So now it was like $10,576 something. Okay, so at the end, they earn an extra $76 because they're earning interest off of this money, not just off the original $10,000. So that's really the difference between compound interest and simple interest. The easiest way to think about this is that compound means that you're earning interest off of your interest. And that's pretty much the easiest way to put it. Okay? So let's see if I know how to use this pen now. Okay. You guys are going to be putting this stuff into a calculator. We're going to start off slow. You can use a Google calculator, but I would also recommend that you're downloading some type of calculator. This calculator is free. Okay, if you go to an app, I think it's easier to have some kind of graphing calculator on your phone when you're plugging stuff in, and you'll see why in the next slide. Instead of going back and forth, I'm going to go back and forth today. So, it won't be too hard to go back and forth to Google and whatever your assignment is, but sometimes it can be annoying. So if you want to download a calculator, go ahead. I'll present this at the end of the class too. All right, so clear this each time. Compound interest that is earned on both the principal and any interest that has been previously earned. Okay, so that's what compound interest is. We are going to learn a formula to use. Okay, so today we're going to learn this formula. I would definitely write this down. So compound interest formula is A is equal to P times 1 plus R raised, like a little exponent, raised to T. Okay, A is going to represent the amount of money in the account at the end. This amount of money is going to be your principal plus all of your interest. So this is going to be your total sum. Your P, my rest of my variables aren't going to change. My P is still my principal. Okay, that's the money that you're putting in. This 1 is just a 1. That's not a variable. My R is my rate. We're still going to express it as a decimal. Okay, and T is going to be the time in years. So that stuff all stays the same. Okay, and then your balance is going to be your sum plus all of the interest in there. So we're going to be using this formula. So somewhere on your paper, I would go ahead and I would write this down. So interest is equal to the principal, and the number 1 plus your rate, all raised to the T. Okay, P is your principal, R is your rate as a decimal. So just like it was before, and then this T is time in years. Okay, this is what we call the compound interest for annually interest, and I'll explain the next one next. All right, so sometimes, not today, maybe tomorrow we'll get to it, but the only difference here is that this N, this is a new vocab word or a new concept. All right, this is a number of times interest is compounded per year. Okay, so when I say per unit, let's just think about it as per year. If it's annually, that means this is a 1, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So if it's annually, you don't have to worry about that because there's no point in dividing something by 1 or multiplying something by 1. It doesn't change. But eventually, instead of being compounded annually, I may say monthly. So if this is monthly, right, that means it's happening 12 times a year. So that's going to become a 12. Or quarterly is a big one. If it's quarterly, it's going to be happening 4 times a year. So this N is going to be a 4. So we'll kind of talk about this tomorrow a little bit more because today I'm going to stay super simple. Okay, today we're going to be talking about compound interest, but it's going to be annually, which means once a year. So that's going to be a 1, so you don't have to worry about it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to start off slow, and then we're going to try to use a formula. So right now, we're just going to be using that simple interest formula, kind of like that video did. Okay, so that simple interest formula is going to be your interest is equal to your principal, your rate times your time. Okay, this says that Simon deposits $400 in an account that pays 3% interest compounded annually. Okay, it says compounded and it's annually, so that N is going to be 1, so we don't need it in our formula. What is the balance of Simon's account after the end of 2 years? So we're going to use this simple interest thing, but we're going to do it twice, right? So we're going to say year 1. Year 1, you're going to find your interest is equal to 400 times 0.03, and we're just talking about 1 year. Okay, so when I go ahead and put this into my calculator, you're just doing 400 plus 0.03. We're talking about year 1, not plus, multiply. I don't know why I said plus to you guys, 0.03, and you get $12. You're earning $12 interest in the first year. right? So at the end of year 1, my balance is going to be 412. For year 2, your interest is going to be 412 times 0.03, because now I'm earning interest off of that $12. So you're doing 412 times 0.03, and you get $12.36. So you're going to add that. So 412 plus $12.36. So at the end, you're going to have 424 and 36 cents. And that's at the end of year 2. So when I'm using simple interest, I pretty much have to just keep doing it. Okay, so at the end of year 1, I had 412. That becomes my new principal. Okay, now I get $12.36 added. So I kind of got like an extra 36 cents because I'm getting 3% off of $12. It's really the only difference. Does that make sense to everybody? And this is using the simple interest formula, not the compound one. But this is how you would have to do it. The simple interest would get annoying if this was for 10 years, where they have to do this thing 10 times, and that would be way too complicated.
Well, we have to multiply or find the turning by 0.03.
Yep. You would have to find out the new balance and then keep multiplying that each time, right? So this principal would change every year.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. Yeah, so like the next year 3, if it was 3 years, it would be 424.36 times 0.03, and then I would get the year 3 balance, and then you would keep having to go on. So that's why I said you wouldn't want to use simple interest. You'd want to use the other formula. I just wanted to show you how it works. Okay, so I did write this all out for you guys to see, nice and neat. So this is how it works, right? Year 1, okay, you find that $12, so this is your balance at the end of year 1, and then year 2, that becomes your principal. You add it together, so at the end of the 2 years, you have $424 in your account. Okay, this is important, right? In step 2, the principal for the second year is the balance of the first year. So it's that principal plus your interest. Okay, and so your interest accumulates interest. Everyone okay with this? Let's try some using the simple interest, and then we will move on to using the formula. All right, so let's use the simple interest for a second. So for something like this, right, if I wanted to use the simple interest method, remember that formula is interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Okay, the balance of each year I need to know because I'm going to accumulate interest off of that balance. So for the first one, you would do 600 times 0.04. 600 times 0.04. And you would get 24. So that means that balance is going to be 624. Year 2, I'm now earning interest off of that balance. So it'd be 624 times 0.04, which is 624 times 0.04, which would be $24.96. So that gets added. So my balance at the end of there would be 648.96. Year 3, this is my principal. That's what's in the account. Times that 0.04. So that interest would be $25.96. So that gets added. So 648.96 plus 25.96. So at the end of the third year, I would have a $674.92. So this would be my balance at the end of the 3 years. So every year, your principal is higher, so you earn a little bit more interest. Everyone okay with this? Everyone at home okay?
Yes.
Yeah? All right, so I want you guys to go ahead and do number 2 for me. I want you to tell me find the balance after each year, and then tell me what the balance is after 4 years. So go ahead and figure that out. So go ahead and figure that one out. All right, are we ready to go over this one or not yet? What do you get for year one? What was the balance after year one? Nicole, Alyssa, Kaden, Serena, Zach.
What'd you say?
What was the balance after year one?
Oh, no, I just got here. I have no clue.
Okay. Serena, how about you? You've been here the whole time? Guys, at home, are you guys listening to me? Are you guys doing these problems?
Yeah.
So what do you guys get for year one?
I don't know if this is correct, but 868.19.
So all you're doing is 850, right? 850 times that rate, so 0.024. So you get $20.40. So then you add that to 850. So for this one, it should be $870.40. This is my new balance. So for year two, you take that balance and you multiply it by your rate. So you multiply that by 0.024. You get $20.88, but you add that to your balance, so plus 870.4. And now your new balance for year two is going to be 891.29. Year three, you take that 891.29, you multiply it by your rate. So times 0.024. Now you're making $21.39. So you add that to your 891.29. So your end of your balance for year three is going to be 912.68. So for the fourth year, this is what you're accumulating interest off of because you're using your previous balance. So multiply that by 0.024. And you get $21.90. So you add $21.90 to that. And at the very end, you get $934.58. So this would be your balance at the end of the 4 years. Okay, if you're using the simple interest formula, the first year you just multiply by that interest, add it. But then every year after that, the principal is going to change because you're earning interest off of the balance and not just the principal. Okay, so from year to year, these numbers should go up because you're earning interest off of your interest. You guys should be doing these problems with me. When I'm telling you to do them, you should be doing them at home. You should be writing this stuff down so that when it comes time to do these problems on your own, you know what to do. That's why I'm giving you guys notes now. These are like guided notes. You should be doing the problems with me. Listening to me and sitting there and doing nothing is not going to make you successful. Okay, when I say, all right, guys, do these problems, you should be writing this stuff down. You should have a piece of paper with this formula on it. You should have a piece of paper with this entire problem on it. You should be writing down what I'm writing. It's not going to be easy. Remember, I'm teaching you guys new stuff. I'm sure you've never done this before. All right, now we are going to be using the compound interest formula. Okay, that formula that I went over at the beginning of class. We're going to be using that. So your A, which is your balance, is equal to your principal, 1 plus your rate multiplied by your principal, and then raised to your time. Right now, our N is going to be annually, so we don't have to worry about it because it's just going to be 1. You're only getting compounded once a year, so we don't have to worry about our N yet. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that yet until tomorrow. We'll get to some where that changes. But today we're just going to start off easy. So this one says that Jackie deposits $325. That becomes my principal in an account that pays 4.1%. So my rate is going to be 0.041. So we're moving my decimal over 2 places. Same thing we did all last week. Compounded annually, which means that my N is 1, so we don't need to worry about it. How much money will Jackie have in her account after 3 years? So my T is going to be 3. We're taking these values and we're plugging them in. Okay, it's going to look like this. A is equal to 325 times 1 plus 0.041, all raised to the 3rd power. So we're plugging this into a calculator. I'm going to show you how. Okay, the easiest way to do this is open up your calculator. You can just use this one. All right, so it's going to be 325 parentheses 1 plus our rate, so it was 0.041, so 0.041, close those parentheses, and then you're going to raise it to, it was 3 years. So this is what you're plugging in. P, parentheses, 1 plus your rate, close parentheses, raised to your time. So you're just taking that formula and you're plugging in your variables. You're going to hit enter. Okay, so your answer is going to be $366.64. This becomes a 4 because you're rounding to the nearest cent, and this is a 6, so that means that's going to round up to a 4. Everyone okay with this? So when you go ahead and this is what it looks like. I'm just going to give it to you guys and without all my messy handwriting. Okay, you're using this formula. Okay, you're plugging it in. There's no N right now because it's compounded annually. So we don't have to worry about this N because this N is technically a 1. And if it's a 1, you don't have to put it there, right? Because there's no point in dividing something by 1 or multiplying by something by 1. You're substituting in 325 for your principal, 0.041 for your rate, and 3 for your T. You're plugging it all into a calculator. Okay, I just did it all at once. This simplified, but you don't have to add it. You just plug it all in one shot, and you will get $366.64. All right, so the next two, I want you guys to practice just plugging it in. I'm going to go over what to plug in, but I want to make sure that everyone can plug this into their calculators so that you guys can do these problems by yourself the next day. So your principal, right, is going to go here on the outside. So this would be 285. 1 plus your interest rate as a decimal. So 0, we're moving this over 1, 2, 0.019. That's a 1, not a 7, sorry. And then it's getting raised to the 6th power. So everybody practice plugging that in and let me know what you get so that we can make sure that everyone can plug this in somewhere. And then tell me what you guys get. You got an answer already? What'd you get? Perfect. At home, what'd you guys get? Serena, what'd you get? And what was the cents on there? So $319.07. If you did not get that, try again. Make sure you are getting this when you're putting it in. All right, the next one, go ahead and plug everything in by yourself and tell me what you get. Someone I haven't heard from. Serena, can you even hear me? You haven't answered me at all. Zach, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and answer this question. Go ahead and plug everything in. Get me an answer when you can. Julian, you're going to tell me if he's right or wrong. You're also going to try it.
Okay.
And then Nicole, if Julian's wrong, you can tell me. But hopefully Zach's right and we don't have to go through 3 people. So Zach, what are you plugging in this first spot? What goes here? What's your P?
The 1,200, right?
Yep. And then how are you representing your rate? How do you turn that into a decimal?
Well, that's where I'm stuck on. I was trying to figure out where you did on number 3 too.
2 to the left, yeah.
2 to the left, that's it. So it's just 0.087. It was here, you move it over 2 to the left.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing the whole time for simple interest too. Nothing's really changing. You're just plugging it into a different formula.
Yeah, but I thought there was only 1 0 instead of 2.
What? There's 1 0 in front of it.
Yeah, so then why would you do 0.0?
Because
0.87.
you always have a leading 0. The decimal moves 2 places. The decimal was here. You're moving it over 1, 2. So the decimal's here. You're having a 0 in front of it, but you always need a leading 0. Like you don't ever write 0.087. That doesn't look right. You always need a thing called a leading 0.
Okay.
It's just in front of the decimal rather than behind it. And then it's getting raised to the second power. So plug that all in, and what do you get? Yep. And then, yep. 88, yeah. So Zach, what'd you get? Julian, what'd you get?
I 1,417.88.
Perfect. Nicole, do you agree with him?
Yes.
I just told you who's right? All right. So is everyone okay with plugging this in?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, you guys are gonna do 2 more. All right. So for these ones, it's compounded annually, so you don't have to worry about these ends. Go ahead and find the balance for number 2, and then find the balance for number 3. What'd you get? 400 and what? Yep. Good. Okay, so Nicole's here.
Caden Kane. What is here?
All right, Alyssa, what'd you get for number 1? Or number 2, technically?
I got 421.86 cents.
Perfect. So 421 and 82 cents. Good. Number 3, Caden, what'd you get?
I didn't do it. I had to plug in my calculator.
Nicole, what'd you get?
Do you want me to tell you what I got?
Yes, Julian. I would appreciate that.
I got 1,141.45.
Good. The only thing is, it's gonna be 46 because in your calculator it's 0.455, right? So when you round to the nearest cent, if this number is a 5 or above, this is gonna round up. That's gonna become a 6 there,
Okay.
right?
Wait, for number 2, how'd you get that?